Chapter 2. The name. At the age of 6, Andrew still hadn't spoken a word. He couldn't even answer when called by his own name. One morning, Eileen found him perched on top of the wardrobe trying to catch the dancing shadows of branches on the wall. At the sight of her son holding his balance on one leg up on the wardrobe, Eileen felt the ground slipping from under her feet. "Andrew, come down from there," she said after coming to her senses. The boy glanced down at her with his piercing grey eyes. Then in a deep voice that seemed so unusual for a child, he uttered, "Fairy." Eileen stumbled backwards, struggling to catch her breath. She managed to compose herself enough to repeat, this time louder, "Get down this instant, boy." He looked at her again with foggy eyes and said, "Fairy." Out of fear or perhaps curiosity, his mother eventually called out to him, "Fairy, get down, now." The boy descended slowly, almost as if he were floating a few inches above the floor. At least, that's how it appeared to Eileen, still shaken from the fright. "Fairy," his father wondered at dinner time. "Are you out of your mind, woman? The boy already has a name. Fairy sounds like a dog's name. Isn't it bad enough that he looks and behaves the way he does? What will people say?" "You can tell people we've named him after my grandfather Ferdinand," Eileen said calmly. "Because he won't respond to any other name." Peter shook his head. "But you never had a grandfather named Ferdinand." Still, his wife stayed determined. The child's name was decided. Fairy. It rolled off her tongue, soft and unusual, much like him. But as soon as they began calling him Fairy, even stranger occurrences took place. By now, everyone in Good Hots was familiar with the story of the Donovan child. And many other tales circulated about him. He had a deformity, he was slow-witted, savage, and prone to biting. Truth be told, Dr. Goodfellow had more than his fair share of contributions to those tales. One day, when Eileen left for the market, Mrs. Nosy, their neighbor across the street, decided to see the child for herself. She unlatched the small gate of the front garden and squeezed her massive figure through the narrow frame. She tiptoed along the house's walls and stole a glance through the window. To her surprise, the child's appearance didn't trouble her too much. He sat in the middle of the room, surrounded by wooden toys. If she had overlooked his fair skin and hair, he would have appeared almost like any other child. However, the manner in which the baby played was peculiar indeed. He laughed and clapped, speaking in a language she couldn't understand. It seemed as though he was watching someone only he could see. After a while, the child rose to his feet and began spinning ever faster, his arms outstretched as if guided by unseen hands. His hair shimmered in the sunlight streaming into the room, the curls dancing and bouncing with him. Mrs. Nosy had never seen anyone quite so unusual. The old lady took a step closer to the window, hoping for a better look. But a twig snapped under her heavy foot, and that was enough to alert the child. In an instant, he turned and looked back at her. His mossy green eyes changed into dark, beady orbs. Eyes of a beast. Then a cry akin to that of a raptor echoed from his throat. Before she knew it, Mrs. Nosy found herself tumbling backward, her feet flailing in the air. She stumbled through Eileen's climbing roses, attempting to regain her footing by clutching onto magnolia shrubs. But it was useless. She felt the plants pulling her down, creeping up her legs. With no other choice, she had to scramble out of there on all fours. However, the upshot of Mrs. Nosy's escapade, vividly related to her bridge club lady friends, only grew the curiosity surrounding the Donovan child. "Eileen darling, how's your boy?" his mother was increasingly asked by her neighbors. Muttering a faint reply, Eileen would hurry back home. And to Fairy's dismay, she covered all the windows with dark, thick curtains, ensuring that no other Mrs. Nosy could peek inside. Yet the boy yearned for the light. After days without the sun, moon, or sky, He appeared so gloomy that it pained his mother's heart. She knew she had to find a way to bring joy back into his life. First, she persuaded her husband to build a swing. Despite his grumbling, Peter made a sturdy wooden swing that soon hung from the old walnut tree, near the ever-blooming jasmine bush. Then Eileen stretched even more clotheslines all around the tree, adorned with sheets, blankets, and enough laundry to outfit an army. And so on a beautiful spring day, Ferry ventured out of his room for the first time. Words couldn't capture his joy. Eileen watched as he played, shouting and running around the walnut tree all day long. Then he would swing ever higher, each time a wing closer to the sky. And ever since that day, Ferry would wake up and dash to his walnut tree in the backyard. There, among the fluttering white sheets caressed by the wind, he felt like a brave sailor exploring uncharted waters, as the rustle of leaves above him seemed to murmur in a language he almost understood. His mother couldn't have been happier. With Fairy's newfound joy and his father spending more time at home, life felt like it was getting back to normal. Then on Fairy's 7th birthday, something incredible happened. He suddenly found his voice. But it wasn't just baby talk. It was proper speaking. The boy's questions knew no end. Mum, what's beyond the sky? Dad, what do the trees say when the wind whispers through their branches? Why can't people fly like birds? And where does the sun go when the moon comes out? He would ask, endlessly curious about the world around him. His parents gazed at him in amazement at such curious questions. At your age, other things should be on your mind, his father used to say. Instead of asking about such things, you could be crafting with me in the workshop. Or playing the ball. But he couldn't hide the joy that he was finally having a decent conversation with his son, despite the unusual topics. As for Eileen, the mere fact her son could speak was the greatest gift she could ask for. Ferry was almost a normal child. Almost.